gap has been since our last episode. This episode was actually recorded at the end of last year. However, I was almost immediately sidelined with my ability to continue with production at that time. But I'm on the mend now, so hopefully with a bit of luck, you will see far more episodes from the mighty CIC very soon. So with that, I bring you episode 25, our review of Kingsman, The Secret Service. Take it away, Pierce.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
My name is Napoleon Solo. Bond. James Bond. Ethan Hunt.
Felix Leiter.
Ilya Kuryakин.
Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Remember, nothing ever goes according to plan.
Tom, what do you think you're doing?
Using the British hand-on, sir. You expect me to talk?
Yeah, baby!
Coming to you from an undisclosed location housing a used lair purchased on the cheap from a Blofeld, it's a Central Intelligence Cinema podcast. I'm Jason Greenberg, and with me, as always, Ben Esslinger.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. And welcome back to the CIC. And in the immortal words of Eddie Murphy, Merry New Year. We are
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Merry New Year.
I suppose better late than never. We're giving you a bit of a refresher course for the movie that is now out, which is The Kingsman. And we are doing our review today on Kingsman, The Secret Service, the one that started it all. So woo-hoo! Very excited to get into that. Jason, have you had a relatively decent holiday season thus far?
I have no complaints.
Have no complaints. Me neither.
There were many Spider-Men.
Many Spider-Men.
In my holiday weekend. And so there was much rejoicing, and they ate the minstrel.
I see. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
I had a refresher course in No Time to Die, briefly.
Mm-hmm.
I was reminded that the movie is pretty decent, but it's a buzzkill at the end. That's the biggest thing for me. I just feel like it's a bit of a buzzkill.
Yeah, well, spoilery and all that. We can't talk about buzzkills.
Okay.
But
I suppose not. We haven't even reviewed it yet. So.
I think we had a moratorium that until it was basically where you could get it on some sort of a streaming service, that we were going to keep ourselves on the down low because we could stream it and then do a review and then spoiler the fuck out of it. But
all right. Well, I will say no more about that. But yeah,
because there's absolutely nobody on this podcast is even going to watch that damn movie. So until we review it,
nobody's seen this movie.
why would we ruin it for them?
That's right. But we're not here to talk about Bond today anyway.
No,
we are here to talk about how manners maketh men.
Indeed.
Well, should we get into it?
We should.
What do you see? I see potential.
Kingsman is an international intelligence agency operating at the highest level of discretion.
If you're prepared to adapt, you can transform
Into a spy.
Interested?
Oh, yes. Son of a bitch.
All right. Kingsman, The Secret Service, released in 2014, directed by Matthew Vaughn of, Kingsman fame. Yeah. He also did Layer Cake, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class. He also produced Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. Mm-hmm. And he's also doing the upcoming Argylle, the secret agent movie with Henry Cavill and a whole host of really awesome people. So I'm very excited for that, especially considering after rewatching this movie, I realized just how fantastical it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious to see if he keeps it in that vein for Argylle or if he dials it back just a notch.
I feel like he's going to dial it back a notch. I think, honestly, this was his homage to the really 60s and 70s James Bond movies. I feel like the Argylle one's going to probably be his homage to the Daniel Craig era.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I feel like this movie is almost like they always accuse Tarantino of being this type of director. I feel like Tarantino has a way of just sort of imitating a very specific style or an era of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's kind of what Matthew Vaughn does in this movie. He kind of tries to imitate a vibe. And so I don't think he's not trying to capture any sort of era, I think, with Argyle. So
no. And I saw, so jumping right off topic as we go, even at the beginning, I was watching it is what we do. It's what we're known for. I was watching some of the featurettes because I have it on streaming. So I was watching some of the featurettes, and they produced this directly with Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons, who were doing the comic book version of it, which differs greatly.
I noticed
in tone and style from what the movie is. Mm-hmm. And he said it, Matthew Vaughn said it, that, well, yeah, I'm doing it that way on purpose. This is my version of the story. Mm-hmm. And it's clearly because he wanted to make a Roger Moore movie.
Yes.
And he couldn't get Roger Moore to do it because he was dead. Also 105. But yeah, no, I agree. He was definitely shooting for that vibe, kind of mixed in with the mid 2000s action.
Yes, there is a little bit of Pierce Brosnan going on.
Matrixy iteration of violence.
Matrix, definitely some Matrix. Definitely also, I got a little bit of Pierce Brosnan era Bond vibe coming through a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and so that's great. I mean, I think after I watched it, somebody asked me what I thought of the movie when I saw it in the theaters, and I'm like, that's the best damn James Bond movie I've watched in like 30 years.
Well, and it's interesting you say that too, because, and we'll get to it, but I'll just skip ahead right now and say there's this very specific scene in the movie where Harry sits down with Valentine and they have a talk about old spy movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's basically Matthew Vaughn's take on what he thought about the Bond movies and what his take is of Bond movies now, because Valentine, it feels like Valentine is literally speaking on behalf of Matthew Vaughn right there.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting, but I understand where you're coming from as far as that's the best damn Bond movie I've seen in a while, because it's all fun. Doesn't take itself seriously. It's not meant to. It's very tongue in cheek, and it's super fun. I just think this movie is super fun. I mean, I think it jumps the shark in the sequel, but this one, man, it's great. I love this one.
Even with the shark jumping in the sequel, I still love the sequel.
Yeah.
For everything that it isn't, I think, at that point.
So, as you mentioned before, the movie's based on the comic book, The Secret Service by Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. The screenplay adaptation by Jane Goldman and Matthew Vaughn. Cinematography was by George Richmond, who's done lots of stuff, but mostly as a camera operator. After this movie, however, he went on to do the Kingsman sequel, Tomb Raider, the movie Free Guy, and he's also doing the Argyle movies. So
Free Guy. I need
to see that. I've heard really good things about that.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. By the numbers, it did fantastically. The budget for the movie was $94 million, and the movie made $404.5 million worldwide. So 4 times the budget. You're doing pretty good. That's not too shabby.
No. Yeah, after you paid Samuel L. Jackson his cut and Colin Firth his cut.
Right. And then Taron Egerton probably got a fraction of what either one of those two guys got.
Hopefully he did sign the contract for 3 movies, so he was able to re-deal on the second one.
Right. So music-wise, Henry Jackman, who we have talked about before on here.
I loved him in Wolverine.
Yeah, he was great as Wolverine. Oh, wait, that's Hugh Jackman. Never mind. But he did Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, and he works frequently with Hans Zimmer. I thought it worked fine. To be honest, I think music-wise on this movie, I actually liked the needle drops more so than the score.
Yeah.
Particularly, I thought it was fun, which the listeners won't know this, but we know this, and I will just sort of let the listeners in on this, is that when you first jumped on this Zoom call, I was playing Casey and the Sunshine Band give it up because that song is so great when everybody starts basically killing each other. It's such an excellent needle drop. I mean, the score is fine.
But as my wife pointed out while she was watching with me, very Avengers-y.
Yes, absolutely. Very Avengers-y.
Yeah. And, most of that second gen or that most of the Avengers movies picked up everything from Winter Soldier as it continued forward because of the Russo brothers.
Right.
But there were some that I felt like they just straight up swiped.
Oh yeah, it felt a little generic-y in that regard. There were some moments where it was like, haven't I heard this in about 5 other movies before this? But
also there were some pretty good Bond EQs in there as well.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I for sure. I mean,
so it felt like the music was doing what Matthew Vaughn was trying to do with the movie. It was trying to cram in 70s spy with 80 or with current action thrillers, but throwing in a little bit of, that auteur Tarantino odd music pieces in there. Like, that's exactly what the movie is.
Oh yeah,
and the soundtrack
absolutely
is exactly what the movie is.
Yeah. So in that respect, he succeeded in doing what was asked of him.
I would absolutely let him write the score for my life story.
So looking at the actors and all that sort of thing in the Bond category, so to speak, we have the would-be Bond and the current Bond. We have Eggsy, or Gary. Nobody calls him Gary. It's just Eggsy.
Just Eggsy.
Played by Taron Egerton, who I thought did a good job. I kind of liked him as sort of the British street smart kid coming up in a rough part of town with no dad and an abusive stepdad. Like, he played the part well.
Definitely.
And kind of out of character as far as who he is in reality. Because he's not that guy. I mean, I would say that's good acting.
Yes, I was acting. Brilliant.
Exactly. And then we had, of course, Colin Firth as Harry Hart / Galahad. My biggest observation about him is that I was really impressed with how physical he was able to be. Because I don't think I've ever seen Colin Firth do action prior to this movie.
No, not at all.
He was quite capable, actually. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I saw or heard in one of those featurettes that he did over 80% of his own stunts.
Wow. I wonder if he was just sort of waiting for that opportunity and no one had really given that to him prior, because he just sort of got typecast as this romantic leading man. And so he never got to do this other style. And I think he just rocked it.
Well, absolutely. Because I think at its core, his version of the super spy is the gentleman first.
Yes.
Super spy second, rather than Bond, who's basically the badass that comes off as a gentleman when he feels it's appropriate.
Right. But he's not actually the gentleman. It's almost flipped with this.
Exactly. And so you needed to have that. That's why he works so well, because you needed that, what he is normally cast as, to be the principal character that he assumes.
He already sort of oozes that.
Exactly. The fact that he was able to do the physical stuff is just a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, because they could have easily just like slid in, some sort of stuntman for him and
rubber mask.
But he did a fantastic job. And then also, I really liked Sophie Cookson, who played Roxy, and that was my biggest thing that I had a problem with actually in the sequel to Kingsman, was the fact that they killed her off straight away. I was so angry about that, because one of the things that I really enjoy about this movie is that they gave Roxy a true character arc. She was a fully fledged character, not just some, bimbo type chick. She was very, very capable, very, very smart. And we got to see her overcome her own fears and her own hurdles. She was able to overcome those. And so I was so bummed when they just she's dead now. In the second one. But I understand.
They had to give gravity to the plot and everything. Plus, there were a lot of potential love interest in number 2.
Right. Yeah.
That it would have started to get confusing if you had
which one Eggsy was supposed to be with.
Well, what?
Right. Speaking of love interests, if you can call it that, we then had Princess Tilda. I'm not sure. Tildy, played by Hannah Alstrom, which was interesting. But, she was given one note to play and she played that note. And then, of course, Mark Strong being Merlin, who was fucking awesome. Just I will watch Mark Strong in anything, honestly.
I would watch him read an encyclopedia.
I would watch him
to watch those fabulous jaw muscles move.
My God. The man, he was built to play in spy movies, whether he's wearing a hairpiece or not.
And thankfully, most of the time is not.
And then, of course, we have the one and only Samuel L. Jackson as Valentine.
No. Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel
L. Jackson.
Y'all talk so funny. Who is fabulous. I loved the vocal affectation that he put on for this. It was such an interesting, I don't know if that was his idea or somebody else's, but fantastic idea.
I hope it was his. I hope the whole thing from head to toe was him.
And I appreciated that he kind of ratcheted back the F-bombs too. Whether that was a move by Matthew Vaughn or whether that was by him or a little bit of both. I really enjoyed the fact that he actually pulled that back so that...
Well, and he was squeamish at the sight of blood. That was hilarious so great. In and of itself.
Yeah. He's just a great character, like a fully fledged character.
Absolutely.
He's not just Samuel L. Jackson planted into a movie.
Well, he was a Bond villain, right? He had that interesting thing about him.
Yes,
that made him who he was.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, Michael Caine. We have Michael Caine as Arthur, who, it's kind of perfect that he's the head of the Kingsmen.
I'm not going to debate you on that. I think that anyone else in that role would have been positively awful.
Exactly. They didn't give him too much to work with, but Michael Caine is always gonna.
That was definitely one of his movies that bought something for him.
Oh yes, that was definitely.
I wasn't doing it for the art. I found a house off the French Riviera that I absolutely loved, and this movie bought it.
Exactly. And then we've got Sophia Boutella, who we've talked about before in Atomic Blonde.
Yes.
As Gazelle, or as I like to say, Blade Legs.
Blade Legs!
So she was a lot of fun as well. Although she's a henchman, so kind of one note, but she did what she needed to do.
Yeah.
There were a couple little moments that she had that I thought were pretty good, especially when Valentine didn't want to watch the massacre at the church. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, you need to see this.
Well, she kind of played it a little bit like a love interest as well.
Yes, very much so.
I thought was kind of a nice layer. They didn't really expound on it, but the background intent she was projecting was that it was more than just a henchman-y type of thing.
Yes, it was definitely a bit of a love interest, and I appreciate that they did do that, especially given there was a moment I caught after about the fifth viewing of this movie where right after Harry comes to have dinner with Valentine, they're walking up the stairs together, and I caught Valentine giving her a little butt pat.
Whap on the ass, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, they're dating. It's fine. I almost wonder whether they built that relationship into the script to still allow for a 60s Bond era butt pat.
Right. That's clearly why it was there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely there. 100%. Well, since we've gotten past all the propers, should we get into the main event here?
Let's do it.
So the pre-title sequence, we start in on this.
Can I just say before we go into it, that had to have one of the best production company beginnings I've seen in a movie ever, with the Battle Zone graphics at the beginning for Marv.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. The Marv.
I had completely forgotten about them. Like, what is Battles? Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I've seen this before.
Marv is good, man.
Yeah.
So we start in on a close-up of this ghetto blaster, and we find out we're in 1997, which honestly, ghetto blasters were before 1997, if I'm being...
We'll roll with it, though. It was the Middle East. They're like 15, 20 years behind the U.S.
Right, exactly. So it's fine. It's fine. So we're in the Middle East, and it's a mission going on with 2 new recruits of the Kingsmen. And one of them is Eggsy's dad. And essentially they're questioning some guy, and they figure out that he's got a bomb strapped to him. And at that point, Eggsy's dad pushes everybody else out of the way and dives on the guy and basically saves everybody's life, essentially jumping on a grenade. It's the equivalent of jumping on a grenade. And then right after that, the other guy becomes Lancelot. And then that's when we get all the big explosions happen. We see these title graphics, which are okay, but they're a little like first era of 3D composite lettering that I've ever seen.
Yeah, but it was funny to watch them falling out of things and
yeah, like the rocks that are made that make up the Sportress sort of come crumbling down, and and they turn into letters and that sort of thing. It's kind of fun. I feel like this whole movie is a bit mad anyway, so it's like, it's fine. It works just fine because it's all just so silly that you can kind of get away with almost anything, which is what's kind of brilliant about this movie to begin with. So,
right.
But then we're right back into more, because we don't actually get the title card per se until just a little bit later, because then we see this first scene where Harry visits Eggsy and his mom. And this is when Eggsy is obviously very, very small. And it's so very Pulp Fiction-y.
Yes.
The scene when Christopher Walken goes and visits.
I had this hunk of metal up my ass for 18 months, and all you could say is,
It's so identical to that.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, so Harry brings Eggsy and his mom this little medal which has a number on it, and he just has to say, if you get in a bit of trouble, if you ever need anything, just call this number. Remember to say Oxford's, not Brogues. But yeah, it's like a page right out of Pulp Fiction, right out of that scene. Anyway. So from there, right after Harry has like this little talk with Eggsy, then we see the snow globe, and the camera goes into the snow globe, and that's when we finally see the title card, which I thought was kind of cool.
Sure.
Because they also use that as the transition to get into the first real scene of the movie, which is Argentina 17 years later. And Mark Hamill is kidnapped. Well,
no. Professor such and such.
Professor such and such. Now, I will say that in the comic book, it actually is Mark Hamill. It actually is Mark Hamill who's captured.
Which explains why he's randomly in this movie.
Right, exactly.
Sounding like, even more like an English Joker than he normally does when he does the Joker.
Yeah, he definitely had his voice actor voice in. Mm-hmm. For this one. But so Mark Hamill's kidnapped as Professor
I don't even remember. All I have in my notes is Luke.
Professor Arnold. That's what it is. Which is so weird because Mark Hamill does not look like an Arnold of any kind.
No. Professor Whitehall, Professor Smythe Sinclair, anything like that. Not Professor Arnold.
I love Professor Arnold.
I love Professor Arnold.
So anyway, he's kidnapped, and suddenly Lancelot comes to the door to save him, and he kicks some serious ass until Gazelle shows up. I really actually liked all of the gunplay and all of the action, all of the action work. Right up until he gets sliced in half vertically. I'm trying to remember if there's any other movie aside from UHF where someone is sliced vertically like that. I'm sure there is, but
yes, I'm pretty sure at least one Tarantino movie. Nothing comes to mind, but I know I've seen it in other ones before.
I was thinking about using the woo as fuck button for this review. But here's the thing. I feel like everything in this movie is more Vaughn as fuck.
Yeah, it's not there. I couldn't find a woo as fuck moment at all.
I feel like everything is just too Vaughnish and not.
Or Wachowski as fuck, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to stick with the W's.
Right. Yeah, definitely more Matrixy than it is John Woo.
Did Lancelot really come off to you as really the actual James Bond character in this movie?
Yes, very much so. Because he was
right down to the scotch not getting spilled.
Right, exactly. Like just smooth right up until he got sliced in half. But
yeah, well, and he even fell in half smoothly. Let's face it.
I know.
He didn't drop like bricks. He just
yeah, just.
It was so funny when she's covering all the bodies before Valentine can go in.
Right.
How she very subtly drops the two towels over the two halves. She covers over one, then she walks to her left and covers over the other one.
Excellent. So from there we get our introduction to Valentine, and I think that's about it in that scene. But we get told so much at the beginning of this movie, and it doesn't feel exposition-y to me. It just feels very natural, which I really appreciate.
It moves the movie along without dragging it down.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I should mention too, is that the runtime on this is just barely over 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, it's very
it moves.
Quickly cut. And
man, does it move.
Nothing is stagnant.
Yeah. The intercutting is crazy on this movie.
Yeah, but I think that also is a lot to his style. He's not very much about loitering anywhere in any of his movies.
I mean, if you've watched
unless mutants are involved, you get mutants involved. He tends to get a little talky when you've got, in his defense, if I had Michael Fassbender in any of my movies, I'd let them get talky too. But
yeah, I mean, I could watch that man talk for days. Anyway, I digress. So after that, then Harry returns to the shop for a virtual meeting. So this is the first time that we see Harry in modern day, and the Kingsmen drink in remembrance to the recently fallen Lancelot. And then the Kingsmen are all assigned to submit candidates for the replacement. So we sort of get that element of the story going, which is an interesting way to sort of go about it. It does sort of make it unique. I kind of appreciate that. Because the Kingsmen are a purely independent intelligence agency, they've got a whole different way of even bringing in new agents.
Right. What do you think about the magic glasses?
You like the whole virtual meeting with the holograms?
Well, and the virtual screen in the painting.
Yeah. Well, it's a little. I don't know.
I mean. One of the conceits is that they all wear the glasses because the glasses have the built-in displays and everything on it. But it seemed very, well, I hate to say Star Wars-y.
Yeah.
But it felt a little Star Wars-y.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little too high-tech. Mm-hmm. But again, they're taking liberties all over this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to accept this movie all by itself, that's one of the minor things to get over, I suppose. And
I mean, I will say this, at least they established a rule to it where they had to put on glasses in order to see everything that they're seeing.
Right. So you weren't like having a project right there in front of you.
It's essentially putting on VR goggles, more or less. And so you can kind of see how that could, at least it's not just like an actual projection where they don't have to wear glasses and it's completely a farce, No, I
agree. It's just sort of funny to me. It's like, why not just have them all there? I mean,
it is an interesting.
If they ever decide to remake that movie like George Lucas style,
okay,
they need to digitally alter that painting behind Arthur so that it's got Ralph Fiennes' face on it.
Yeah, I mean, because
I told Susan, I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if one of those paintings actually had Ralph Fiennes on it and we don't know that?
Oh my God. Could you imagine if they actually had the forethought to be like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make a prequel. I'm going to make a prequel and I'm going to get Ralph Fiennes. And so I'm going to put his picture in the background and nobody's going to know why the fuck Ralph Fiennes' picture is in this movie at the start.
I just think, wouldn't it have been funny? So like they were actual paintings, or at least some sort of a graphical representation of something. And what if Vaughn had been like, well, I just want this to be all these famous spy people out of context. So there would be a Patrick McNee and a Roger Moore and, a Robert Vaughn, but there'd have to be a Ralph Fiennes because he also played John Steed, right? With the hat. And I'm like, you could have literally painted him from the Avengers.
And then it would have fit right in.
Exactly.
Because you could have had like the Hall of M's, kind of like No Time to Die.
Exactly. They could have taken that painting from this movie and just stuck it in the Hall of M's.
Indeed.
Sorry to sidetrack you on that, but that's all I kept thinking of every time they showed it is, well,
where's Ralph Fiennes?
Where's Ralph Fiennes?
Well, it did feel a little bit CGI for CGI's sake, but I'll allow it. I'm fine with it. I know some people are purists that way, but I mean, this movie is so off the rails right from the jump that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. They're not surprising you in any way here.
Right. So they drink to Lancelot. They have the 100-year-old scotch or whatever it is, 200-year-old scotch. And then Merlin explains about some sort of toxin that makes people violent. That I guess that had to do with the mission in Argentina or something like that. That was a little fuzzy, the way that they sort of established that. I think it was reporting it just as general news of this toxin that was popping up and around things. Maybe it was something that was tied to Mark Hamill's character. I think that's what it was. Yeah,
because he was presenting random events.
Yeah,
over a time frame to give you the background of how things were getting to where Valentine is later.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, too, that like this movie in general uses the news in general as exposition a lot. Like
it really does.
It's kind of the vehicle that they use a lot of exposition, which is interesting, but it works. I mean, it's better than having like Tanner, taking you around
on a boat ride,
taking you on a boat ride down the Thames for 20 minutes, telling you everything that's happened. So I'll allow it. And then right after that, we get this last little thing where Harry and Arthur sort of bicker about Harry's last recruit, despite the fact that Eggsy's dad was noble enough to give his life for the Kingsmen to save everybody else. And I just love that line that he says, just as he's leaving, he's like, there's a reason why aristocrats develop weak chins.
Exactly.
He's got a couple really good, that one. And then he delivers a quote from Hemingway later on in the movie. That's so good. I just love it. So then we cut and we get to see Eggsy all grown up and his troubled home life. And they paint the picture of where he's at with this, his mom is being abused and his stepdad is this sort of mob goon type guy that's just sort of a ruffian and a bastard of a human being. And he's got this baby sister that he's worried about. And so in this particular scene, his stepdad basically gives him money to essentially fuck off. And so he goes down to the pub and meets with his friends. And while he's down there with his friends, at the next table over are some of his stepdad's goons that sort of work for him. And that turns into a little bit of an altercation. And then in the process, Eggsy pickpockets one of the guy's car and they steal the car, which I thought was great. I kind of like the car stealing scene and that whole chase. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you also get this thing that Eggsy is incredibly competent when he wants to be.
Yeah, it definitely paints that picture of like he's much too good for the environment that he's been placed in.
Right. And the reason he's still in that environment is because he's worried about his mother and his sister.
Right. Exactly. He's and it's kind of a noble thing. It sort of shows that he's got loyalty towards his family and that he's not just going to go escape all this life.
Well, yeah. And it shows that he's got loyalty to his friends because once he gets caught by the cops, he tells
his buddies to get out of there and he takes the heat for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Eggsy's arrested, and then finally he gets this phone call, and that's the first. I think this is where I get confused between the comic book and the movie. I can't remember if he's ever called the Kingsman before in the movie. I know in the comic book,
not in the movie.
I know in the comic book, he's called several times before. And Harry's like totally fed up with him in the comic book. But I believe in the movie, he's more.
No, it's definitely the first time.
Yeah, because he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know if it's going to work. He just sort of calls, and when he gets on the phone,
absolutely remember the secret code.
Yeah, because she was about to hang up on him, and then he sort of wait, and then he says Oxford, not Brogues, and then they let him talk to Harry or whatever. So that's when we cut to Eggsy getting bailed out, and he meets Harry, and it's funny how defensive Eggsy is at first. Just kind of like, well, who are you? And posh bastard. Like, I don't give a shit about you, or whatever. So yeah, Harry bails him out, and then they go back to the pub, and I just like that he drinks that Guinness so like it's the greatest beer he's ever had in his life.
Well, know that it's not.
Well, I mean, I do like Guinness, but
I do too, but not the way he was making love to it.
I know Harry made that Guinness look like it was the greatest stout he had ever drank in his life. So we get this little, discussion about life choices and all that sort of thing. And then, of course, they get interrupted, and we get what is arguably the best scene in the whole movie. I think, his stepdad's goons come back in, and we get the manners maketh man line.
Well, and locking the doors. So badass.
Yeah.
Shunk, chink, chunk.
Well, I also like, even before that, when...
Listen, boys. I've had a rather emotional day, so whatever your beef with Eggsy is, and I'm sure it's well-founded, I'd appreciate it enormously if you could just leave us in peace until I finish this lovely pint of Guinness.
I just like how calm and cool he is, and how he's actually like sort of dumping on Eggsy in the process.
Right.
Like, well, I recognize it's his fault, but
it's like in the cantina, when Luke gets in with Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba, and he's like, come, this is what isn't worth the effort. Let me buy you a drink or something. Luke's like, what do you mean I'm not worth the effort, you old fuck?
Exactly. So we get the manners maketh man. Then we get literally the greatest fight scene ever in this movie. Yep. It is so fantastical, and I appreciate that this one isn't too Matrixy, because the Matrixy one at the end of the movie is too much for me. Like, that's where I was starting to get a little, okay, I guess I've followed this far along. I'll accept it. At least this one's kind of more grounded, even though it's not grounded. I don't know. Like, the backflip thing is really bad, but
he just goes ass over tea kettle.
Yeah, that one's, I don't know about that one, but, and then at the very end, of course, he amnesia darts the bartender at the end, which actually makes me think of the fact too. How good are the fucking all the gadgets in this movie? I think that's one of the best parts of this movie too. Is Matthew Vaughn just plays up all the tropes that you really want to see, like cool gadgets, tons of fantastical action, like a villain that's like, got weird things about him.
Right. I like how when he's giving him the inventory, when they first go back to the Kingsman shop with Eggsy, and he's going through the inventory of all the stuff that's in there, and he starts selling the shoes. So any shoe, or on Oxford is any shoe with laces.
Right.
And the decoration in the front is the brogue. And, he shows them the pop out knife version of it.
And he does the Hitler impression.
Well, no. But I was going to say, with the technology, he's like, back in the old days, we used to have phones in them too.
Oh yeah. The Get Smart reference.
Get Smart reference. Yep.
So he amnesias the bartender, and which I loved. And then Harry threatens to amnesia Eggsy, and Eggsy's like, no, I won't say anything, and all that stuff. So then Harry like puts his hand on his shoulder and plants the little bug on him.
Mm-hmm.
So then again, we get more exposition because on the telly, we see the news and Valentine's movie or whatever is on the news. And then we also see that Iggy Azalea is missing.
Yeah, because, she's so big now.
Yeah, huge. Anyway, so we start they're planting this thing in the viewer's head about suddenly there's big celebrities missing. And it's sort of, at this point, it's just sort of a head scratcher. But
right.
So from there, we move into the sort of this confrontation with the stepdad because his stepdad knows what the hell's gone on at the pub at this point. And so his stepdad's ready to practically fucking kill him. And just as the guy is like putting this giant blade to his throat, we hear Harry through a speaker, which that part was a little...
That was a little weird.
It was a little weird because was it really coming through that tiny little thing on his shoulder?
Right.
Or had he patched into some other part of their house?
They didn't really make it clear, but the way it seemed like it's coming from the speaker. Well, and that is some damn good fidelity on something that tiny.
Well, they made it sound like it was the voice of God talking to them. So that was a little suspect. Anyway, so at that point, Harry sort of warns the stepdad that, well, hey, if you kill him or if you do anything else, I have enough evidence on you at this point to lock you away for the rest of your life. So maybe don't do that. Yes. So then the stepdad lets him leave, and Eggsy does this fun little parkour thing past the goons, which was fun to watch, which also, again, sort of speaks to his prowess and that he's obviously capable of being a spy
significantly more than he actually is.
Right. He's got the raw materials to be a spy. So he parkours his way over to the Kingsman shop. So that's when he walks in, he meets with Harry, and we get this whole scene in the dressing room, which is really funny about the potential and how he's I love the whole thing about Harry's trying to say, well, you remember that part in like Pretty Woman, and he keeps making these analogies to all these different movies, and Eggsy's not even getting it. He's like, oh,
like My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady. He's like, you continue to surprise me, Eggsy. So at that point, he gets the offer to become a Kingsman. And then suddenly they're going down. Like suddenly the floor starts dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And that's when we get the premise of the new Kingsman movie that is out right now in theaters, just of how the Kingsman came to be and that whole thing. And so it just keeps going down and down. And so how do you feel about all this? Like this traveling down?
So I'm always that guy who is like, who approved the contract work on this and who had to die so that nobody knows about it? Because for me, you could build an underground railway anywhere you need, right? Because it's underground. If you own both points of where it's at, particularly if one of them is a secluded estate somewhere in England, you can build all the trains you want. I'll give you that. But in a building that's probably been around for 200, 300 years,
right?
Who had the wherewithal to build an entire elevator the size of a room that goes down how many feet?
I mean, that thing looked like
100 feet.
It looked, deep.
200 feet.
And how did they do it without anybody sort of taking notice to such a thing?
Right. Because the modern elevator, as we know it, and would have had to have the same principles, was not built until I'm thinking mid 1800s in its initial concept.
Right.
At which point in time that building had probably already been around for 200 years.
Right. So you're doing retrofitting at that point in the 1800s.
I'm like, did you literally dig a hole from the big building out in wherever all the way to under this building?
All the way.
Haul all of the elevator parts all the way there, build the elevator, then the train.
They hired hundreds and hundreds of lemmingwinks, if you know who
And then what? lined them all up for a mass grave and shot them all so they can't tell anybody anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but again,
if you go for the conceit of the movie, you just have to run with it.
Exactly. So we go down 100 feet, and then we're in the underground tube, subway or train, underground train, whatever you want to call it.
With those nice houndstooth covered seats.
Yes,
very fancy.
Yeah. We get over to the HQ, and it's this big, estate or whatever. And we pass by the underground hangar, which is the most Avengers thing in this movie. Holy cow. Like that whole shot is just,
well, and then the mansion above was straight out of the X-Men.
Yes.
I was expecting there'd be a basketball court that would split in half so the jet could fly out.
There is so much genre blending going on in this movie, just all over the place. So then, so from there, Eggsy checks in very quickly. This is a part of the movie that moves super fast,
right.
And I think is probably better for it, just because they speed up the origin story at hyperspeed, which I appreciate because
it keeps it interesting.
Yeah. And I've talked with you about this off air, but we're definitely going to have a sit down discussion and an intel report in future episodes about the overuse of origin stories in spy movies, but I digress. So anyway, Eggsy checks in to Kingsman School basically and joins the other recruits. And apparently Merlin is the instructor / headmaster. So he's not Gandalf. Why am I missing his name? From Harry Potter.
Oh, Dumbledore.
So basically Merlin is Dumbledore.
He's like if Dumbledore and Q had a baby.
I just think it's funny too that his name is Merlin and he's basically Dumbledore.
I didn't get that. I assumed it's definitely more to do with the whole Knights of the Round Table, and he makes all the gadgets, so he's the magic man. But that's a very excellent connection.
So anyway, that's when we get our introduction to Roxy, which is awesome, and then we of course get the I affectionately refer to them as the posh prick trio. The guys that all come from Oxford or wherever, fancy universities or whatnot. And they've all got the sweater draped over their shoulders by the arms of their sweaters draped over their shoulders and yada, yada, yada. And then we cut away to Valentine trying to find out Lancelot's identity. And it's so funny. You eventually it pans, you realize he's talking to Obama. Yep. Which one of the things, and this is another thing that I love about this movie, is that even though there are recognizable political figures in this movie, it's so apolitical and it's so distrustful of anybody in government.
Yes.
And that's what's so great about it, is that it doesn't take a side. It just paints them all. You are all fucking guilty.
You're all politicians, and thereby you are all scumbags.
That's right, which I appreciate. It's kind of nice. So from there, we get another great big scene with the bunk flood, which I thought was just a great idea. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Just so original, where we get all the water flooding into the room where everybody's sleeping. And, all the other recruits, they all go over to the toilets and they start running the shower pipe thing down into the toilet to try and get air out of the line in the toilet. Meanwhile, we've got Eggsy, our blunt instrument, who swims over to the two-way mirror and just starts Hulk punching, like smashing into this mirror over and over again.
No blood, no damage to his hands.
No,
he's
never. It's like 1-inch punch type shit.
1-inch punch. Kill Bill, when she's in the casket, she's all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, also too, and if you think about the fact that he's punching in water, like how much power is he really How much power is he really exerting on this mirror? So anyway, of course, he breaks through, but of course they all fail because they see this other girl who we think is dead over.
Oh, she's totally dead.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Until Act 3.
Until Act 3, exactly. So meanwhile, Harry goes to meet Professor Arnold, and just as he's sort of like trying to, figure out what the hell happened to Lancelot and sort of kind of really shaking the shit out of Professor Arnold, that's when the little microchip in Professor Arnold's neck decides to go boom.
Mm-hmm.
And sends, I don't know what that shit was that like flew all over his face. It wasn't acid, I don't think, because he didn't seem to be like scratching his eyes. I don't know what the hell that shit was, but anyway.
Burned Professor Arnold juice.
Ew. Arnold. Ew. Oh, Professor Arnold. So anyway, Arnold goes boom. And Harry.
Professor Arnold. I like Professor Arnold.
I really like Professor Arnold. So Harry ends up unconscious in a coma, I believe. And so at this point, too, Valentine is, of course, alerted to Harry because Valentine just seems to sort of have eyes on everything. And then also in this area of the movie, we get where they all get dogs, where all the recruits get dogs, which is another great moment. I just love that he got the pug because it's so, I just like that it was such a good representation of him.
Yes.
Like as the recruit there, he really was the pug, and it was quite fitting that he got a pug. But it was also funny that he didn't realize that it wasn't a bulldog.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bulldog.
It's going to get bigger, right? No, it isn't. So anyway, yeah, we get a quick shot of Harry being unconscious with a breathing tube. And then we get what I like to call the ultimate Kingsman intercut montage, because so much shit is told to us in such a quick amount of time. Because first we see Eggsy running with the pug under his, like, I don't know if that's like a bulletproof vest or what the hell that was, but the pug's bouncing up and down. So then it cuts so it has that. Then it cuts to the SIM cards on the assembly line, which is done really well, though. I like how they sort of do the screen sort of moving down, like the shot of Harry moves down as you see the SIM card assembly line. And then after the assembly line, we come back to Harry weeks later because his hair is all grown out and his beard's growing out.
Right.
And then we cut again to Eggsy in the bunks, and they throw water on him. Like the posh prick trio once again is just being who they are.
Right.
And then that even is cut really fast to again seeing Harry finally waking up even weeks later after that, followed by even more than that. We see them like doing a written exam. So it's hyper progression of time of all of Eggsy's training and all of this shit going by until finally we see like there's night sniper training. And then it finally slows down when we see Valentine again, and he's meeting with more leaders. And this time it's Princess Tilde of Sweden and the Scandinavian Prime Minister. Prime Minister is obviously a total asshole. Like, he's clearly just all about himself, and he doesn't care that they're about to put Princess Tilde in a cell or whatever because she's not cooperating. He's like, well, I'm a Republican, so I don't care. So from there, Harry wakes up, and basically Merlin has connected that the manufacturer of the microchip plant that was in Professor Arnold's neck, the microchip itself was connected to Valentine's tech company.
Okay.
So that's how they sort of connect Professor Arnold's head explosion to Valentine. And then from there, we also get that little bit where Eggsy's like, oh yeah, he's a genius, and we see the little thing on the screen again, using like media and news to sort of help propel things along. We see that he's like giving away all these microchips to everyone for free and giving them free cell phone service forever or whatever. And that's when Harry decides he needs to get into this like gala event that Valentine is hosting. And then right before that happens, we get another really good scene for me. Again, like probably my second favorite scene in the whole movie is the skydiving training mission.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is great because this is where it sets up Roxy's sort of fear of heights and doing the whole skydiving thing. And it sort of gives her a second dimension. You know, it sort of builds that up and sort of the camaraderie between Eggsy and Roxy and that whole thing. And just how shitty the other guys are, because when they're in the air and the other guy's just like, fuck you guys. And he pulls his chute. I'm out, you know? Yeah. So the skydiving scene is just really well executed. And I love too, one of my favorite parts of it is right at the very end, just as Eggsy and Roxy are like so close to the ground and they still haven't pulled the chute. And Merlin's watching and he fails to set his coffee cup back on the desk and it falls to the ground and smashes, and it adds that like added tension. Like even he's freaking out, you know, like, oh shit, did I just kill two of my recruits? Oh, and the other really good thing about this scene is at the very end too, when Merlin comes onto the ground and they're laying there or standing there, and Merlin dismisses like the other guys, and it's just the other three left, and then Roxy and the other guy walks away, and then it's just Eggsy and Merlin, and Eggsy's fucking pissed. He's like, if you got to say something to me, you come up and say it. And I love that Eggsy's like, all right, I will. And then he just walks right the fuck up and like is ready to like go to blows with Merlin.
Gives him the what for putting one of them, you know, in deadly danger. And then Merlin's like, and he pulls his ripcord and the parachute comes flying out. None of them had it.
Right. It's such a great little moment to sort of show like, nobody cares where you came from here. Right. This is all an even playing ground.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and then from there, that sort of leads us into the second act of this movie here.
Right, you know, we kick right off after that with Galahad showing up at the Valentine's big gala as whatever his cover thing is, some billionaire. I want to say it was pharmaceuticals, but I can't remember exactly.
I can't either. But, it was so throwaway. It didn't even matter.
Right. Anyway. You know, he's rich. Valentine wants his money, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So anyway, so he shows up and, you know, Valentine's like, no, I found out with you. I canceled the party. Sent everybody home. Right. Because, you know, Galahad was dangling such a tempting carrot in front of him that he wanted to give him his undivided attention. So he invites him in.
And it's probably dubious the fact that he's never met this billionaire in his life before, and how is
or heard about him.
So how is that even possible? So he's probably suspicious from the jump.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, Galahad provides a reasonable explanation for why he hasn't been on the radar, and such. But obviously, this is a feeling out thing for Valentine as much as it is for Galahad. And so they sit down, you know, to have dinner, and what's Gazelle comes in whirling, you know, one of the big metal carts, you know, the food, and she opens it up, and it is just laden with McDonald's food, boxes of French fries, quarter pounders, Big Macs. And the first thing I'm thinking of when I see this is, how long has that been sitting there? I bet you it's gross.
Oh, yeah, I know,
Who
right?
wants to eat cold McDonald's, or worse, reheated McDonald's?
Well, I mean, this is probably Valentine we're talking about. So he's probably got like a pretty good, like, I mean, granted, it's probably still sitting under like one of those heaters.
Maybe he's got a McDonald's in his house.
Maybe he's got a McDonald's. He is
rich.
He is super rich. So who knows?
I don't know. But anyway, so he's got like a bottle of fine wine, and this is what they're having for dinner. And
I like how they pair it with,
they
pair wine with a Big Mac or whatever.
Well, you know, and then Galahad pops up there. You have to try Twinkies. I suggest for dessert that we try Twinkies with a 64 Chateau or something like that. You know, totally playing on the whole thing like, oh, yeah, I eat junk food, drink expensive wine too. Ha. So they kind of go through this whole, you know, bit of back and forth. Tete-a-tete.
Oh, and while we're on this note, is it me, or are directors obsessed with having Samuel L. Jackson eat hamburgers like in movies? I don't know. Maybe it's just because Pulp Fiction is so at the front of my brain because of other references this movie has to Pulp Fiction.
Sure.
But But like once again, I'm seeing Samuel L. Jackson eating fast food. Like it's become a thing with him.
Right. Well, I think
Is that
it
a big
has,
kahuna burger?
Yeah, that is a tasty burger. I think the reason that you see him with a lot of hand food and drinks and stuff is because that's how he acts. And he's a very
gestures, gesticulating.
So you lock up that gesticulating by putting something in his hand.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it,
without telling Sam you talk with your hands too much. I'm
Just
gonna have you hold a hamburger in this.
just stick a hamburger in his hand.
Whatever. I'm getting a paycheck. So anyway, so they finished their conversation.
But this is what we talked about earlier. Like, I love this conversation because it literally lays out Matthew Vaughn's take on where Bond is right now and how much better he thought the old ones were versus the new ones. How he liked the more fantastical, silly ones with silly villains and it, like, I can just literally hear Matthew Vaughn talking directly through Valentine as the host.
Right. All the while poking and prodding at Galahad because he's starting to kind of figure out who Galahad actually is.
Right.
While
Although
they're having
I thought it was an
conversation.
interesting move by Galahad to sort of hint at wanting to be a supervillain or I forget what he
saying that being the super villain was the better
choice.
Be.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to sort of convince him that he's not a spy.
Right. Well, and then this whole conversation for me goes on this other meta level when you start thinking about Unbreakable, the M. Night Shyamalan movie with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
Where Samuel L. Jackson again plays the nemesis, spoiler alert, to Bruce Willis's character, but instead of adopting a Bond villain aspect, he assumes a comic book villain aspect throughout the movie with the things that he's done to bring them together so that they can become antagonists. And so this kind of had that same vibe to me, except that he was trying to be the Bond villain that he was bringing to Galahad's, Bruce Willis character, who was the protagonist. And so I remember watching it when I saw it the first time, thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, okay, so if we need a science fiction villain, then we get Samuel L. Jackson, not as a Jedi Knight. But, so this thing speaks to you on so many levels. The movie speaks to you as just a spy movie that's fantastical and fun to watch. Mm-hmm. It speaks to you on an auteur level. If you're looking for that kind of thing, the dialogue, punchy, exciting, relevant, never too long.
Yeah.
So it comes off like a Tarantino movie or a Kevin Smith movie where the dialogue is what you need and you want to listen to it because there's a rhythm and a dynamic between the speaking people.
Right.
And then it's just a straight up punchy, kicky, fighty, bang, bang movie too, if that's all you want to get out of it.
Which, I mean, honestly, I'm largely there for the punchy, kicky, fighty thing a lot of the time.
Absolutely. But it's nice when you go into a movie like that and you get a little something more.
And we get girls too, on top of everything else. We get beautiful women.
And who doesn't like beautiful girls on top?
That's right.
Thank you.
Exactly.
So they finish the conversation. There's a bit of mutual suspicion between the two, but
right.
They leave amicably enough. Good old Valentine has put a nano tracker into Harry's wine to find out where he's going.
Oh,
good old nano trackers.
Good old nano trackers, man.
Who doesn't love a good nano tracker?
I hope that nano trackers go away. Like, they're the new list, man. Like, nano trackers are the new lists.
Nanotechnology in general is going to be the bane of spy movie existence for the next. Well, you know what? Until it actually happens. And they have to come up with something else.
Right, exactly.
Because everybody's like, nano trackers. Geez, I've had a nano tracker in me since I was 7. What are you talking about? Whoa, technology.
Exactly. But I'm just waiting for all these new movies that are set to come out next year. How many of them are going to have? Well, Argyle won't, because it's period piece, I think.
Right. Well, yeah.
So hopefully we won't get it in Argyle, but
Mission Impossible 7 is going to have nano something.
God, no.
Although
no.
I'm hoping, I think the next buzzword is going to be quantum, quantum computing and quantum this. So we're going to have quantum trackers next that are on a subatomic level or something.
I want between that or like AI. I'm wondering about like if we're going to get more like sentient AI type business.
I don't know. The sentient AI has been around since the 30s. It just kind of
that's true
comes and goes. But the nanotechnology has
it's
really
definitely
only been
hot right now.
Well, I think Star Trek really Next Generation really kind of brought that into the forefront with the Borg and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because Star Trek constantly used nanotechnology and nanobots as something as a plot line from Next Generation straight up, I think, until the end of Voyager. So once it goes into Star Trek, it spills out everywhere else.
They're at the gateway, huh?
They absolutely are, So if it becomes something that the Trek guys run to because it's easy,
right, then it's definitely
then the people that don't even write science fiction are going to jump right on it. But anyway, I digress. They have their chat and they're finished. And as they're walking off, Valentine's talking to Gazelle and getting upstairs and just gives her a little tushy pat.
Little tushy tap.
little Connery-esque tushy pat that she takes no offense of, too.
Yes. And they're clearly in a relationship. So
they are clearly in a relationship. And she's got swords for legs, people.
Yeah. Like
she didn't like her ass getting smacked. I'm pretty sure she could do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we cut from there to Harry chatting with Arthur once again in HQ. The news doing its job as usual, telling us more celebs are missing. Harry's glasses, which of course do everything that Google Glass doesn't, are he's showing off the footage that he picked up
when he was over at
Valentine's place. And in the footage, there's a pamphlet from a Westboro Baptist Church type of church.
Well, it's very telling of the times too, because that was when that was a big thing. Nobody has talked about them they're still
in the news, but not to that level.
Yeah, because they were really evident back then.
Oh yeah, because they were everywhere. They had a much larger presence.
Yeah.
So who knows? Good riddance to bad trash, if you ask me.
Yeah, no kidding.
We stay away from the real politics here, folks. We only talk about the fake politics
That's
here
right.
on Central Intelligence Cinema. But that, of course, gives Harry his clue to maybe go check that a little bit out and see what it's all about.
Yep.
And then, of course, more news footage exposition.
Yes.
More missing famous people. More big lines for Valentine's free SIM cards for the cell phones. What could all of these have to do with one another? I don't know. And then we skip over to the final 3 candidates mission because basically everybody else flunked out from the parachute drop, right? Because they didn't get inside the circle.
Right.
Like they were supposed to.
Which I mean, come on, that circle's tiny. Like not even a professional that would be hard for a professional skydiver to do.
Let alone somebody dragging another body down.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that's good is if you're aimed there and you're at terminal velocity and don't pop your chute till 3,000 feet, you got a pretty good chance if you're still over that circle of hitting it.
Right.
But yeah, so they're given their last mission, and their last mission is to go and, shall we say, compromise a particular female in
yes, in a club.
Whichever one of them can bed this particular female, strictly through seduction, I might add.
Yes.
Basically wins the last operation they're on. So, and of course, the joke is they're all handed photographs of who they're supposed to be looking at.
Right.
And Eggsy and Posh Prick number 1, they get the same girl and they figure they're going to be arm wrestling over. Then Roxy's like, yeah, I got the same one too. And of course, I'm thinking, well, if I'm this chick, I'm going with Roxy. I don't
exactly. That was my first thought. I'm like, well, those two are screwed because they got no chance against Roxy.
So they cut to them in the nightclub, and correct me if I'm wrong, this one's a little fuzzy for me, but I think we've got Eggsy and Posh Prick are chatting her up.
Yeah, kind of like, well, it starts with Posh Prick and then Roxy.
Posh Prick is chatting with her.
Yeah, and then Roxy sort of identifies what method he's using. And is sort of like debunking it in front of him. Right. And then Eggsy comes in and he's like, what's this champagne tastes like shit? Like, what's going on with this? And then Posh Brick number one is trying to debunk what Eggsy's doing. Right. But Eggsy's really actually being truthful because he can taste whatever's in the champagne. In there. Yeah, he can taste the roofie shit that's in it. And then the girl gets up and then they all pass out.
Right. Well, no, not before the guy that comes over. If you're really trying to get a girl into bed with you, you need to try the roofies. And they all kind of look at each other and then they go to black. Right. And Eggsy wakes up tied up on the train tracks. And I'm like, tied up on train tracks?
I know. It's like, where's the mustache twisting? Yeah, the mustache twisting villain. Like
exactly, with the top hat, the cloak. Right. And so what it turns out, so the guy's yelling at him, trying to get him to give up information about the Kingsman and all of this other stuff. And the train's coming, and Eggsy's terrified, but he's Eggsy. He's not giving anything up. He'll go to his grave, not giving anything up. And so you see the train hit him, but surprise, surprise, the train does not hit him because it had some sort of Lex Luthor from Superman the movie sort of drop downy thing.
That was so ridiculous, but I mean, it fits with everything else that we've already seen in this movie.
Absolutely.
If you can have a dressing room size elevator drop 100 feet underground,
yes,
you can make a little piece of train track fall 6 feet down and replace it with real train track so that a train can
go through. Exactly. And so we find out that this guy, who I think plays a bad guy in every English movie ever made.
I was trying to figure out where he was from. I didn't bother to look it up, but like I feel like I've seen that guy in like a million things.
I think he was in Layer Cake.
Oh, that would make sense. I mean, it's another Matthew Vaughn movie. So,
but I mean, he never plays a good guy in anything he's in, and most of the things he's in are British movies.
Yeah,
I've seen him in anyway.
Yeah,
but this guy turns out he's working for the Kingsman, and he's done it to Roxy before,
right? And then
he was next.
And I love after the train comes and Harry's there, and Harry's like, Roxy already went, but Posh Prick number one still hasn't. You want to go watch?
And he's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the guy, the bad guy that's been a bad guy and everything, he kind of looks like Rorschach, actually.
He does look a little bit like Jackie Earl Haley, yeah.
With the teeth and the
like the guy that plays Rorschach had a baby with Pete Postlethwaite, and you got one guy. But so we see Posh Prick number one go through his, and he fails miserably, gives up all the information. He's a big crybaby. Doesn't die because the train looks like it's going to hit him. And then, of course, Michael Caine's there, and he's very disappointed with him because he's an asshole. Because his upper crusty guy basically lost to the guy that to the street thug that he said wouldn't even make it through. He's very disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Anyway, so we move on from there.
Yeah, don't they get like a day off or a night off or something like that? And that's how we wind up back at Harry's house or something like that? Yeah,
that's basically it. They more or less, all three of them, they thought they passed.
Right.
But there was still one test they don't know about yet.
Right.
But so it's basically they get to spend time with their mentor.
Right.
Or the person that sponsored them.
Yeah.
And kind of, and I think it's more set up to be sort of like, okay, so this is the life you're actually going to get if you take the next step.
Right.
And so they're back at Galahad's, and you're in Galahad's study, office, as you will, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's covered with the front pages of news stories that seem completely irrelevant. Most of them from, what is it, the Sun?
The Sun. Yeah.
And, so that's the rag.
Yeah.
Out there in England, right? And it's stupid stuff like this happened with Lady Di, and
right. It's all like
Elton John did this,
right? It's all like British royalty garbage, like
just the kind of same. It's the kind of shit that you would see in the New York Times. or not the New York Times, but the New York Daily News, rather, right?
Yes.
It's just sensationalist bullcrap. And Galahad's walking around, pointing out on this day, this is what I did and what actually happened. And on this day, this is what I did and what actually happened. And, he makes the point to Eggsy that, you should only be in the newspapers 3 times in your life. When you're born, a man should be, or a gentleman.
Yes.
Once, when you're born, when you get married, and when you die. That's it. And he's trying to make a point to Eggsy that you don't do it for the recognition. You don't do it for the fame. You do it for king and country. Right. And you do it because it's right. And so you shouldn't have an expectation that you're going to receive accolades for what you're doing. The accolades come from doing it in the first place.
Yeah. And I kind of like this moment too, because this is when we sort of see like Eggsy sort of open up and sort of like be like, well, look at where I came from. Like, how can I ever learn how to be a gentleman? Which is so funny too, because it points right back to My Fair Lady. It's the whole My Fair Lady thing all over again.
Layers, donkey. It's got like an onion. It's got layers. And then, Galahad throws out the Hemingway quote you were mentioning earlier. He says, there's nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self.
God, Hemingway was... Hemingway was great.
He
was a drinker, but he was great.
He was a bit of a writer. You might have read some of his works before.
Yeah.
The man could learn to use a period a couple more times. But and by period, I mean punctuation.
Yes.
But, really this whole point is sort of like, I won't say a coming of age thing for Eggsy, but it's really Galahad saying, this is why I chose you.
Right. You don't need to come from some posh family.
Right.
Like you just need to be, if you have a good internal compass, then.
Yeah. Being a gentleman is more about who you are inside than it is about what you project on the outside. Everything sort of comes from that basic goodness that's in there. And so, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So they go back over to the tailor shop because he's going to get Eggsy. A gentleman always wears a suit bespoke, of course.
Bespoke. Yes.
My
never
favorite,
off the rack.
Never off the rack. My favorite English word might be bespoke.
It took me a long time to understand what that even meant. I'd always see that.
I thought it was, it was off a bicycle or something.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
I would see that word all the time, and I just never bothered to look up what the hell it meant. And it wasn't until I got involved in all of this spy nonsense that I actually found out what it meant.
Well, I actually picked it up out of car manufacturing. Because like Rolls Royces and Bentleys and everything.
Because they're bespoke, they're custom, they're
Maybachs and things like that. Exactly.
Yes.
So, and then I sort of put 2 and 2 together with the suits and everything. I was like, oh, something that's made by hand just for you. Does that mean that my kid is bespoke?
Technically, yes.
Technically. Although he wasn't really made by hand. But anyway, moving on. And seriously, folks, I'll be here all week.
Be sure to tip your waitress.
Yeah, tip their wait staff. So he goes, Galahad's going to take him into the fitting room, but the fitting room was occupied at that point.
Fitting room 3, because
fitting room 1.
One does not pop their cherry with fitting room 1 or 2.
He couldn't go into fitting room 1 because Valentine was in there unbeknownst to them at that point. And one does not pop their cherry in fitting room 2.
That's what it is.
That's like, there's no talking about Fight Club. That is that rule.
That is
the first rule of Kingsman is that no one pops their cherry in
fitting room
2, and there is no sex in the champagne room. So
I didn't know Chris Rock was in this movie.
It's a very hidden part. He was the tailor, but he was in Eddie Murphy Old Man Saul makeup from Coming to America. Anyway, so into fitting room 3 we go, and there's a little bit of a wistful glee in Galahad's eye as they walk into there, because this is basically where Merlin has set up shop. Eggsy's kind of not super impressed with the whole thing, but he tells him to pull down the hook on one of the shelves over there, and everything opens up to an arsenal full of automatic weapons. And another side one opens, and it's got like cufflinks and cigarette lighters and shoes and all this other stuff.
I love how all these gadgets in this look so beautiful, high end.
Yep.
You know, like it's something that we haven't seen in a spy movie in decades, because most gadgets nowadays are too function forward and they look like tech. You know what I mean? Whereas I love how everything in this looks like an old lighter, looks like an umbrella, looks like, you know, what a
just
pen,
a straight up watch,
like
or a pen.
a really nice old pen that, you know, that probably costs like $2,000 to write with, but it's actually a grenade, you know?
Right. And the way that he goes through it, you know, explaining to Eggsy what everything is.
Right.
And such detail, the character points out the shoes.
Yes.
This is an Oxford.
That's when we get that funny part where he's like, do your best impersonation of a German
officer.
Yeah, and then he does the
one hand under the nose and does the salute and clicks his heels together. And needless to say, Galahad is not amused.
No.
I was amused greatly, however.
Yes, I was too.
But so they go through the whole thing. He kicks the shoes, knife pops out. It's got a neurotoxin on it.
Yes, of course.
That's not foreshadowing. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I know.
That's where you get the phone joke.
What an interesting detail to talk about. Just very, very lethal neurotoxin. That's
you know, the cigarette lighter that will blow up at a certain point in time, or
the ring that sends 10,000 volts into
correct, or even the watch that we know already shoots darts. We've seen that already, but we're going to assume that's the same watch,
right?
You know, purely just to show you how cool things are. No relevance later on.
In no way will we see all three of these pop up.
No way, shape, or form. So after they've gone through the whole thing, as they're walking out, Eggsy tries to nick one of the lighters, and he's like, "Put the lighter back, Eggsy."
So great.
And he just walks right back, drops it, then keeps walking. No look of shame, no nothing.
Yeah, he's like, "Well, I tried. Whatever."
And so when they come out of the dressing room or fitting room 3, out of fitting room 1 comes Valentine wearing it's a suit.
Well, it's one of those things where they were still fitting him. So
yeah, they were still fitting him.
So everything is like inside out. All the fabric is inside out. So it looks.
But he's got still got his sideways hat on.
Oh yeah, so it looks all
it just looks very wonky and ridiculous. And Galahad's like, "Oh, the thing you're going to, you should be wearing a top hat. May I suggest this hatter down the street? Blah 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 blah."
Right, which we also own.
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you that. Oh, thanks for the tip. I'll do that for you. Off he goes.
I love that little tete-a-tete that they had.
Yeah.
Before they, because it was definitely like that classic Bond, like talking in code at each other.
Yes.
But not actually saying what you really mean, but kind of saying what you mean.
Right. Because we're not in a place where we can do anything about it.
Right. Exactly.
But it's funny because Valentine's there because of the tracker.
Right.
That Galahad swallowed. But is this where he meets Arthur and converts him to the cause? Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah.
Or was that something that was in the works from the get-go? See, I always wondered about that because
that is an excellent point. Like, when did that whole connection happen?
Because one would think that it looks like Arthur pretty much lives there. I mean, he's the only one that's ever in the building. So
right.
Did he know Valentine was coming? But then that would be if Arthur knew it was already in it, Arthur would have already told Valentine what was happening. So I'm assuming that this is when Valentine recruited Arthur to the cause when he was there. Once he figured out who they were,
right,
or had a supposition of who they were. But I digress. It's not relevant to the movie. It's just one of those things you think about when you have to watch a movie twice. And you have to entertain yourself. But, so he gets the top hat. And, of course, there's a transmitter in the top hat, which, brilliant. So we move on then to what is effectively going to become the final test for our 3 candidates.
Yes. Well, no, 2, because the other guy's gone already.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They were
passed
both
the train tracks. He
passed
failed the train tracks thing.
Right. And there was really only one spot anyway.
Yes.
So this was like a tiebreaker, more or less.
Right.
And they're paired differently.
Yes,
right?
it's very
Eggsy
interesting.
is with Arthur.
Which I think is a little unfair, quite honestly.
Oh, well, they were the only 2 left, right?
That's
you're
true.
right. I guess you're right. Technically, he should have been with Roxy's sponsor, not Arthur. But they weren't paying any money to Roxy's sponsor as far as an actor. And if you got Michael Caine...
Yeah, you might as well use Michael Caine, and he's the villain in disguise-ish.
And he gets to prove his point with the guy that he thought was going to fail in it. So, I mean, there's tons of reasons, but long story short, he's been told to kill the dog.
Shoot the dog.
His dog. Shoot the dog. And Eggsy's looking at the dog. And I'm going to tell you right now, I could have shot that pug easily because it's ugly.
That was an ugly-ass dog.
It was ugly for a pug.
Seriously, when they did the close-up of that dog, I'm like, I could shoot that thing. I would feel bad for about a month and then I'd be fine.
Yeah, the first time I got to fly some gadgets or do something like that, I'm like, dog? What dog? But yeah, so Eggsy can't do it. He's just too good a person to do it. And turns the gun onto Arthur.
Which I loved. That was such a good little moment there.
Yeah. Once he heard that was after he heard the other shot, was it not?
I can't remember.
From Roxy's room?
I honestly can't remember like what the timing is of that. I should go back and watch that because that would make an interesting point, because if they did it timed where he's aiming at him and then you hear the gunshot, that would be very sort of one of those, foreshadow of sorts.
Right. And, so Eggsy looks at him, and then he drops the gun, hands it back to him because he can't do it. Basically washes out. And
then he steals the car.
And he steals the car to go back home, which is hilarious. Why are they all driving cabs? I don't understand why we're driving cabs.
These people are supposed to be like rich. They're wearing bespoke suits.
Yeah, but they drive cabs. I don't understand. But anyway, Roxy tries to shoot her dog, and she becomes Lancelot. Eggsy gets the boot, gets in the car, drives back to his town, is going to go pick a fight with his stepdad because now he can do something about it.
Right, exactly. Now he's trained.
Just as he's got this guy's piss and vinegar up and getting him to the thing, the windows roll up, the car goes into auto mode and drives him off. So he looks like an even bigger pussy now because he was talking the talk but couldn't do anything.
So now the taxi effectively was made by Elon Musk because it drives itself back to Harry's house.
Back to Harry's house. And it's at this point, Eggsy goes back in. Harry's obviously pretty pissed off with him at this point just because he failed. And then he explains to him, he walks in and he shows him his own dog.
Which is so funny because at first, Eggsy thought that he literally killed his own dog.
Right. At Mr. Pickles.
Mr. Pickles, which is so weird. Okay, everything aside, who does taxidermy to their pet and then puts it in their bathroom?
It's a little weird.
It's a little fucking weird.
A little weird. I'm not gonna lie. But it's funny if you notice that Mr. Pickles is kind of a little ratty dog.
Yeah, ugly ass dog.
Not a big dog though. So basically Galahad shows the same kind of dog. Yeah, exactly, like the pug. And so here Eggsy's thinking he shot him. He's like, no, it's Blink, stupid.
Well, and it's funny too because you see this. They have this whole thing where Harry sort of says, "Can't you see that everything I'm doing is my way of trying to apologize to your father for making a mistake?" Right. And finally, you can tell that it
starts to sink in.
Yeah, it sinks into Eggsy, and suddenly Eggsy starts backpedaling and apologizing, and then just as all that's happening, that's when we, all hell breaks loose, and
right. And Merlin kind of puts 2 and 2 together, finds out that Valentine is going to conduct that experiment at the church, and Harry's got to go. He's got to go check it out and find out what's going on.
Right. Which is funny that in the meantime, Eggsy just hangs out at Harry's house. Like he's just chilling.
He told him to stay there. He tells him,
is that what it was?
He says, "Don't move," or tells him to don't leave. So he's stuck. He has to stay there because he just got told to, and he's not going to piss him off anymore.
True.
So we cut to the church massacre scene, and
holy cow, that scene, which has been the subject of some interesting after use.
Yeah.
Which I won't even get into. I'm sure people are well aware of it. I prefer the original version. Yeah, I prefer the original version from the movie.
It is on its surface what the SIM cards do.
Right.
and on the surface, Valentine basically flips the switch, and all of the SIM cards in the phones generate a signal, puts everybody into 28 days worth of rage virus, and everybody loses their shit, including Harry, who's in there. And then Harry goes and does that thing that Harry does
quite well,
wipes out probably 70% of the people in that church himself.
Yeah.
With every implement available.
I just love right before Valentine hits the switch, and he's trying to leave, and the woman is like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going to see my," I forget exactly what he says.
I'm going to go see my gay lover,
who's black and Jewish and works at an abortion clinic.
Yes, exactly. Something like that.
Something to that effect.
To get all their goats on it. And then of course he gets zapped with it, and then everybody starts fighting, and since he is obviously the most skilled, trained fighter in the room, just takes over. And it is Tarantino level violence.
It really is. And what I appreciate, if there's something to appreciate about this also, was I started counting rounds. I started counting shots on the gun, and I appreciated when he ran out of bullets, but I was like, okay, they were actually at least thinking of that, because it felt like the shots went on forever, but then
exactly.
He actually did run out of bullets and then just started shoving random metal objects into people's heads.
Well, and he used the gun. He used a cigarette lighter to set the guy on fire.
He used everything.
Everything. And I
swear to God, I thought I saw a pool stick being used, which...
Yeah, there were pool cues on the wall.
Why in a church?
I don't know. If you're going to buy into a SIM card that drives you crazy to kill people, you can believe that they play pool there on Saturday nights and they just move the table. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those outdoor bumper pool things and they just bring it in and they bring it out. I don't know.
It's a very small church. They have limited room.
It's in Kentucky. I mean, what else is it to do in Kentucky?
What else are you going to do?
From a technical standpoint, it's so well shot to make it look like one continuous shot, even though it's not.
Right.
It's multiple takes, but it's edited and composited in such a way that it looks like it's all one clean shot. It is amazing.
It really is. I don't think he has replicated any fight scene or replicated that quality of a fight scene in any of his other movies.
No, I think there was a scene in Kick-Ass that was relatively close.
Right.
But not at that level. Because the technology between Kick-Ass and that movie jumped up enough from a CGI perspective that you could really make it. And one of those things I saw in the featurettes I was watching, the editor of the movie was there editing on site as they were doing it, so they could figure out where they would put cuts in,
or what maybe what they needed to still shoot, so that they had the connective tissue.
Yes,
to make it all work. That's
exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said, ladies and gentlemen. Film editor Ben Esslinger. Well, that's his secret identity, or his public identity, anyway.
Yes, public identity.
The public identity. Even James Bond worked for Universal Imports. But export, import. Shut up. I'm on a roll. Do not interrupt me. Anyway, so there's a lot of violence happening for about 6.5 minutes. It
goes on for a long ass time.
And
it is excessive. but fun.
You get these intercuts into Valentine and Gazelle, and he's so squeamish with the blood and can't watch this. And she's
and
like,
Eggsy.
and Eggsy, because he's watching it through the glasses.
And Merlin.
And
I think Arthur too.
Yeah, everybody that was still around was watching it through the glasses, and Valentine's watching it through his drones or whatever he's got. And eventually it all ends, and out comes Harry from the church because everybody else is literally dead.
I know, it's just so, everyone is so shell-shocked who's watching. They're just like, as Harry just trudges out amidst piles and piles of dead bodies. And Valentine comes over with his little SWAT squad. Yeah.
Like, well, I know who you are now, and, can't have you around. So he shoots Harry in the head and then throws up.
And then promptly throws up. He's like, I just love how he's like, I didn't realize that's what was going to happen. And Gazelle's like, what did you think was going to happen?
The fact that this character is so the antithesis of Samuel L. Jackson in any kind of movie like this.
I know. That's what makes it so good.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you know what? Samuel L. Jackson can act. That's amazing.
Maybe we should do that more often.
And so, everybody's shocked. Harry's dead, or is he?
Yeah, right.
Tune in for Kingsman 2.
Golden Circle.
Golden Circle. You know what I'm saying? So we cut back to Arthur back at the shop.
Yes.
Everybody has gotten together to have the drink, but all the other agents are off. So it's just him literally in the office. Everybody else is Google Glass holograms at this point.
Right.
And in walks Eggsy, basically just, I think, initially looking for some commiseration, because they're the only people that would understand that he died and what it meant to everybody, because Kingsman is what Kingsman is. Mm-hmm. And so, he sits down and he starts chatting with the old man, and he's like, well, I suppose you might have earned the ability to drink with us. So he gets the scotch and he pours him the glass and starts, waxing on about things. And at that point, Eggsy notices he's got the little scar on the back of his neck where the chips are inserted on the people that are part of Valentine's program, and points out the picture on the wall and asks a random question. And
a little sleight of hand.
That's right. He basically pulls the Wesley versus Vicini trick. Morons! Comes back. They're about to get the drink. Arthur thinks he's got Eggsy by the balls with some poison, but nope, switch the glasses.
Because he's a street kid who knows how to do that sort of thing.
That's right. And he basically says, I may not know a lot of things, but I do know how to do this. What did he do? So Arthur dies, and Eggsy knows that pretty much everything is compromised at this point.
Right.
And so now we need to get the rest of the band back together, small as it is, so they can go save the world. And
that sort of hints off too that, we sort of head into Act 3. And one of the things that I was thinking about right at this moment when Eggsy meets up with Merlin and Roxy is, why didn't they go and contact other Kingsmen from other parts of the world?
Yeah.
But it could have been one of those things where they couldn't trust anybody. And so they decided to keep it local.
Yeah. And that's
the only thing I can think of.
Merlin sort of alludes to that.
Yeah.
That they're the only ones that they can trust at this point.
Right. Because who knows whether or not Arthur was in cahoots with some of the other Kingsmen from the other branches or whatever.
Right. Exactly. So, well, of course, we don't know there's other branches, say, in, the United States of America, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I have no idea.
Halle Berry's not in anything like that. What are you talking about? But yeah, for whatever reason, it's just the three of them against the world. Off they go.
So the final segment of this movie, which goes which goes super fast, super duper fast. Yeah. But now what I will say, which I really appreciate, is that they made it simple enough that it doesn't feel convoluted.
No, it's very straightforward, but it's just fast paced.
Yeah, like everything connects up. Like there's never like one of those like super duper, I hate to say it, but Bondian head scratchy moments. Like, why the fuck did they do that type of thing?
Right.
Like I don't have a single problem with anything that happens in this final act as far as continuity goes. There's some super silly shit that happens, but it all fits continuity. So anyway, after Roxy and Merlin sort of understand that Eggsy was not trying to kill Arthur to take down the Kingsman, because there's that quick moment where Roxy's like got a gun on him.
Right.
And then Merlin's like, no, it's okay. You know, Arthur was in cahoots with Valentine. So then they develop this plan to basically save the world. And the idea is that Roxy is going to go up in this Star Wars era. And by Star Wars era, I mean like Reagan Star Wars era balloon vehicle thing.
What did they call that? The strategic. Oh my gosh.
That was a whole acronym?
Well, no. So Star Wars was what it was called, but it had a strategic initiative something. I forget.
Oh, geez.
I used to know this because that was super in my head when I was a kid. I'm like, Star Wars? Tell me more.
Right. So then you had to find out about it.
But yeah, it was basically Cold War missile defense is what it amounted to.
So Roxy is going to take this Reagan era Star Wars thing up to take. It doesn't
look anything like the power loader from Aliens.
Not at all. So she's supposed to take out one of the satellites that Valentine's going to use to link up and create this thing that sends down the signal to all the SIM cards. And because of that delay, that will give Eggsy time to take Arthur's place at the end of the world party so that Merlin can then be there on premises to hack into the system and delay everything until Eggsy can take out Valentine. Boom. That's the plan.
Simple. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Right. It's easy to follow. There's no convolution. It just works. So, and again, also love it because it continues to build on Roxy's character. She's not just there in the background. She actually is having to overcome something because once again, she's doing skydiving, which she fucking hates.
Right.
So Roxy goes up in the inflatable balloons. Because goodness gracious, that balloon.
Goodness gracious, great balls of helium.
Indeed. So anyway, in the meantime, Eggsy and Merlin, they fly in the Kingsman jet to the party, and Eggsy comes off the plane and he he's all suited and booted, looks quite dashing and everything, portraying himself as Arthur. And when he's checking in, he's like,
"Do you have any luggage?"
Congratulations, Mycroft. You just graduated from my pilot to my valet.
Yeah, cheeky.
Understood? Good.
That's a great little moment.
It is.
So then, Eggsy makes his way into the party, and I love that they did the cocktail thing too. When he walks in, he's like, which is interesting too, that he said a gin martini, not a vodka martini. He's like, gin, of course.
Well, stare you at an open bottle of vermouth.
Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, is about how I take my martinis, basically. That's about how dry I like my martinis as well.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Eggsy makes his way up to where the Swedish prime minister is because he notices that he's got a laptop and he actually has access to everything. So he makes his way up there and with his handy dandy little watch dart and so that gives Merlin access. In the meantime, one of Roxy's balls or balloons bursts and so, she had almost locked on the satellite, and just as she's about ready to fire, that's when the balloon pops, and suddenly she's, like all wobbly and trying to retake aim and relock in on it. And then this is where we get lots and lots of intercutting back and forth between the three different players going on, and then of course we run into Posh Prick number one. He's back and puts a blade to, because of course, since he is posh and a prick, he's at this party. And he puts a blade to Eggsy's throat. And then Eggsy has a little bit of a fight with him. But of course, at that point, he's already yelled across the room to where Valentine is. And he's a spy, yada, yada, yada. And so, but then we get the shock ring to him and knocks him out, and he makes a run for it. We cut back to Roxy again. She finally locks on the satellite and fires. And the missile, obviously this is like dated technology that she's using. So it takes a long ass time for that missile to reach the satellite.
Yeah, forever.
It seems like forever, but so she's in this free fall now, which is like actually one of the moments in this movie that I actually found like I felt tense watching it, because they did a really good job of making it seem like she was never going to get out of that flat spin. And whenever I hear flat spin, I always think Top Gun. So I'm always like, oh no, that's the worst thing ever.
Oh, Goose is going to die again.
Exactly. So in the meantime, we see all these world leaders getting ready as the countdown to launch gets near. And again, that apolitical stance that we see where all of the leaders are sitting down. Doesn't matter who it is. Like Obama is getting together with his cabinet. It's like, doesn't matter which side of the aisle it is. Everybody's like in cahoots with Valentine because they all suck. So then we get some of this like first person shooter shots as Eggsy's trying to run back to the plane,
right? Like
fighting all these guys and all. This is when we start getting into some almost pseudo Matrixy level action where he's flipping around and like bending over backwards and shooting guys, and a lot of human shields being used. And he's bouncing off the walls of the hallway, which are kind of like this fake rock,
right?
Like I'm at Black Bart's cave or something. So anyway, he's sort of parkouring off these rocky walls and fighting all these guys. But I really like the camera work because it looked like the guy was also bouncing off the walls as he's shooting, the footage from behind him. It was really cool to see. Like,
it's like they had a parkour guy following the parkour guy with the camera on him.
Exactly, which was really interesting, which actually leads me to wonder, I wonder if that's why they shot it in slow motion, was because maybe that was the only way that the footage was going to look not super ultra like vomit inducing shaky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is if they shot
anybody who's watched Hardcore Harry, it was a hard movie to watch.
Yeah. So that way, if it's in slow motion, it takes away some of that jiggle that makes you want to vomit. So anyway, finally we cut back to Roxy, and she recovers and deploys her chute as the satellite finally blows up, foiling the launch temporarily at least. And then in the meantime, Eggsy finally makes it back to the plane, where they discover that because of biometric security, Merlin can't actually hack the system from the airplane, meaning Eggsy has to go back in and basically fight everyone. So at this point, it's like, I need guns, lots of guns. Whoa. So that's when we get that cool moment where they open up the back of the plane, and it's like the mini version of Fitting Room 3.
I liked that scene though, where he's like, I'm going to need your gun. And he's like, oh, no. This is my gun.
Yes, that's such a great moment. I love that.
He gets like, no, this is my gun. These are yours.
Yeah. You can choose from all this shit. Don't touch my damn gun.
This is my gun.
Yeah. So at this point, this is where we sort of have like this, almost like a lull. Like it's kind of nice that they actually give the viewer a slight breather, because the action it's almost nonstop after this. So then Valentine starts to call people to get his system back online. He's like calling, like, I don't know, Steve Jobs or.
Oh, no. He specifically says, hey, E, can I borrow one of your satellites?
Oh, so he's Elon Musk.
He called Elon Musk
to use the satellite. Of course, it's Elon Musk. So he's calling people to borrow a satellite so that he can triangulate his evil master plan, whatever. So Eggsy starts fighting his way through, but then is very quickly surrounded on two sides in this hallway. And meanwhile, troops are mounting towards Merlin and the plane. They've got giant friggin' rocket launchers and everything. And he's just like, which now I will say this in retrospect, I'm like, shouldn't the plane have been a bit more heavily armed?
Yeah. Like, where are the machine guns that should have been in the airplane?
It's a Kingsman plane. Shouldn't have had its own level of artillery.
Rocket launchers,
Exactly. Just saying. That's my only little beef. Anyway, so then we cut back to Eggsy, and Eggsy's sort of thinking that this is the end. And through his comm, he tells Roxy, he's like, please tell my mom that I love her and my little sister, but make sure that my mom locks away my sister in the bathroom and throws away the key, because he knows that he's not going to make it in time and people are about to kill each other randomly.
Right.
So then at the last second, though, Eggsy has this moment of brilliance, which is, again, this is okay. I have to admit, this is another moment that's a little iffy. But Eggsy asks if Merlin is able to activate the implants inside everybody's head. And sure enough, he can. And that's when we get the graduation ceremony song. And everyone's
fireworks.
I just love how when their heads explode, it's all like this bright paint type.
Yes.
I don't know why that is.
Hey, maybe that's what Harry got on his face when Mark Hamill's head blew up.
Some organic paint goo.
Organic paint goo. I like it.
So everybody's head explodes. All the world leaders, basically everyone in charge of everything, which is an interesting prospect.
Right.
They never talk about the fallout from that.
No, because when they pick it right up, everything's hunky-dory.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, it's that type of movie. So, and then all of Valentine's troops' heads explode. So that pretty much graduates us into what I like to call silly time. Because from here, we go full Matrix with the action. So
pretty much.
So Eggsy's standing there at this door where all these troops' heads have just exploded, and he now has a clear path. But then he realizes that he's standing in front of the Swedish princess's cell room. He opens up the little window. He tries to unlock her, but he can't. And he's like, sorry, love, got to go save the world. And then we get what could arguably be the greatest line in all of cinema. When she says,
sorry, love, got to save the world.
If you save the world, we can do it in the asshole.
I'll be right back.
And of course, Eggsy is extremely motivated at that point.
Yes, it suddenly boosts his motivation to save the world triple-fold.
And with the Swedish accent, no less.
Oh, I know. Like the lilt and the...
If you save the world, we can't do it in the asshole.
So he's like, I'll be right back. So in the meantime, Valentine starts his plan back up, and we start seeing the entire world kill each other to the tune of Give It Up by Casey and the Sunshine Band, which is a nice touch.
Absolutely is.
Also, I actually I was quite impressed by the CG level of those aerial shots when everybody's beating the crap out of everyone. It didn't feel overly CG, even though it was obviously CG.
Right. Well, I think it was far enough away that the technology could realistically portray that level of detail.
Right.
Without looking too fake.
And his stage stuff, his closer stuff was really good.
Yeah.
Like that scene at the pub. Holy shit, dude. When that body like slams down on the roof of that car, like as people are fighting all around them. Like that was awesome. Like, not that I want to see everyone kill each other, but it was interesting.
If you've got to watch it, at least it was good.
Right. So in the meantime, Eggsy makes a break for Valentine, but then that's when we get the ultimate Matrix style fight with Gazelle.
Right.
And it is Matrix the whole, like, holy cow, like bullet time flying through the air, almost wire worky. Like
it's Wachowski ass fuck.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to come up with a new button. A Wachowski as fuck button. So that happens, which is it's okay. It's probably my least favorite fight in the whole movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think the problem was it was so far outside of what was more or less, even the fight in the church was restrained compared to this one.
Yes.
Because this one was very grandiose between two people, and the whole, long extended flying kick stuff.
The slow motion, like flying through the air. It seemed like they just hung there forever and ever and ever. And
it reminds me of this, the cartoon Dexter's Laboratory. I don't know if you remember that from the 90s, but there was a scene where he's fighting his nemesis, and it was very Power Ranger style.
Okay.
And so they're both in armor, and one guy's like, and he's all, and it's just them making the flying kick pose with speed lines drawing past them for like 30 seconds.
Which is basically what we got with this.
Well, we got that without the screaming and whatnot. But,
right, exactly.
But yeah.
So in the end, of course, Eggsy is able to cut her with his poison shoe blade, and down goes Gazelle.
Bye-bye.
And then, of course, people are still killing each other, and
because
his mom's about ready to kill his sister.
Yeah, that was actually one of the tension points, was that Valentine kept taking his hand off of the biometric thing to duck or something like that, and everybody would stop, and then he put his hand back on, and everybody would start up again. So
which was a clever little.
It was to amp up the tension.
Yeah.
And to keep things moving so you still continue to feel the stakes. Yeah. Which I thought was nice. Sometimes those final acts of these kind of movies, you get lost in the motivation of why they're doing it, because it's so big that it's hard to encompass as a quick cut to. This wasn't.
Right. And because if he had his hand on there the whole time, by the time Eggsy would have got there, the whole world would have been dead already.
Exactly.
So at least, like, the fact that his hand came off the thing like several times during the course of all this, it gave that like, oh no, here it started again.
Right.
That back and forth that like re-energizes the tension and sort of keeps it there instead of becoming sort of anesthetized to the whole thing.
Right. Exactly.
So finally, Eggsy grabs one of Gazelle's foot blades. Mm-hmm. And javelin launches it through Valentine, who, in true Valentine style, throws up all over the console.
Yep, at the sight of the knife and the blood through his own body. At the sight of
the knife and the blood through his own heart. And so he saves the world, and then Eggsy can now go grab his quite the prize that's waiting for him.
Well, and of course he gets there and he can't open the door.
Right.
So he gets it from Merlin, and you have your basically your James Bond ending.
Yes, exactly. Which I have to admit, when I first saw this movie and you got that view, I was shocked. Like, I did not expect that level of nudity all of a sudden. When they showed the view that Merlin saw through the glasses.
Yep.
I was like, whoa, okay.
It was everything you never saw in a James Bond end scene at all.
Exactly. He just closes the monitors. He's like, oh, I'm done. Yep, done.
Yep.
Okay.
Starting up the airplane.
So then, of course, we get the epilogue, and Eggsy returns to save his mom from the rat bastard of a stepdad in true Kingsman style, back at the pub, recreating the manners maketh man fight and the end. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've sort of conveyed all my thoughts on this movie. I don't know if I have any final thoughts per se. I just think it's a fun movie. Like, it's a really nice reprieve from the Bond world.
Well, yeah, but without leaving it entirely.
Yeah, it gives you that lighthearted vibe. It doesn't take itself seriously. That's part of the reason why it works so well, is that it's so tongue in cheek that you can just go along with everything, even an elevator that goes 100 feet below the ground.
I'm still having some trouble going along with that.
All right. Well, maybe that
one. But I'm allowing it to let the movie continue forward.
Exactly. Great movie. I'm excited. Even though the Kingsman has not been doing well in the cinema so far, I am actually excited to go see it. And I am going to go try and see it really soon. Because, I'll go watch, Ray Fiennes, go do, Matthew Vaughn style action.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's going to be quite entertaining and obviously a fun romp through alternate history bull crap, as it were.
That'll be fun.
It'll be what it is. I don't think it's going to be any better than the second one.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I don't think it's going to be as good as the first one.
I don't think anything will top this one.
No.
So I just think, and I will add that it's not because that it's an origin story. I think I think that can sometimes help, but I feel like even the mission that happens in the Kingsman, the Secret Service, is a good enough mission that it plays. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think that's going to my biggest gripe with the Kingsman is that we're trying to root it in World War I and we're bringing in Rasputin and a bunch of these other things that take it from being a James Bond type of fantastical to just a general type of fantastical. I mean, Rasputin seems to be the only villain that could possibly exist between 1916 or 1914 and 1918. Like, there were no other bad guys in World War I.
Right.
But the Russian monk.
Yeah. So get him.
I'm like, he was the bad guy in Hellboy, for Pete's sake. I mean, come on, guys.
Anyway, it was a good movie.
It was a good movie. I have to admit, I was sort of dreading watching it again because I felt like I had it all kind of sorted in my head. I could replay back things when I needed to.
Right.
And I was pleasantly surprised when I watched it at the subtle things I didn't remember.
Yes, very much so.
You remember all the broad strokes. You don't remember the little bits, which actually make it a much better movie than other things in its similar genre.
Right, exactly. Because that's part of the thing that makes this movie work is just that even though it is so fantastical, there's some dialogue, there's some little moments that keep it quality. Like they basically get away with those fantastical moments because there's these smarter elements to it that sort of sew everything together. So that you're allowed to enjoy the silly things without saying, well, it's a completely stupid movie, because it isn't, because it's very intentional where the silly moments are.
Yeah.
And very smart where everything is very intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. That. So everybody go see this movie if you haven't seen it. And why didn't you watch it before listening to this? I mean, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it?
That's what I figured. So,
I mean, maybe they didn't watch it because they're like, well, when are you guys going to put the thing on for us to watch it? Because you guys suck. To which I reply, maybe we were testing you, listeners. Maybe we were testing you.
But hey, this was a good refresher for anybody going to see The Kingsman. So.
Absolutely.
But, if, any of our tens of listeners want to tell us their thoughts on this movie, please interact with us. We would love to hear from you. By email, you can reach us at cicdeaddrop@gmail.com, on Instagram at Central Intelligence Cinema, spaced by underscores, or on Twitter, which I am pretty active for the most part, at CIC Spy Pod. So,
yes, indeed. And also, if you are enjoying the podcast, and we hope that you are still enjoying the podcast, we would love it if you would help us out by going to your favorite podcast station. Is that what they call them these days, Ben? The
Sure.
podcast stations? wherever your fine
one of
podcasts
them
are.
podcast stations things.
Yeah, wherever your fine podcasts aren't sold. Go on out over there and help us out by giving us a glowing, or if you want a mildly smoldering 5-star review, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Stars.
Yeah, 5 stars. Glowing, smoldering, whatever.
Smoking,
just make sure
whatever.
Make sure there's 5. That's
Yes.
what we're asking for. What this will do is get us noticed by other people who may think that this inane sort of stuff that we do here on these podcasts is entertaining and want to listen to it just like you.
Indeed.
So do your civic patriotic duty for the Central Intelligence Cinema podcast and give us a good review so that we can continue to bring this love and excitement to everybody else.
Indeed. But with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
and more maketh the man.